The velvet lining of the jewelry box held a perfect indentation where the ring should have been. Catherine froze.
I checked this box last night. The ring was here.
She lifted the empty velvet compartment, her fingers searching as if the ring might have slipped beneath.
It's gone. The words sounded impossible, even inside her own mind.
She upended the box onto the bed. Nothing but a single earring back and a loose pearl.
Only one other person has been in this room, Jennifer. Cold spread through her chest.
Catherine remembered the way Jennifer had lingered near the dresser last week, her eyes flickering to the jewelry box.
She wouldn't steal from me. She's family. But the empty slot told a different story.
Her hand closed around the jewelry box. The weight of what was missing pressed harder than anything still inside. She stood motionless, the morning light falling across the empty velvet indentation, and understood her mother's ring was not lost. It was taken. She carried the empty jewelry box into the living room and set it on the coffee table. Frank's photograph watched from the mantel.
Frank, if you were here, you'd know what to do.
She picked up her phone and scrolled to Jennifer's contact. Her thumb hovered but did not press.
Last week, she came to watch the house. She kept glancing at my dresser.
The image sharpened in her mind. Jennifer, jittery, hiding her phone screen, flinching at every question.
And those secret phone calls she'd take outside. I always knew something was wrong.
Catherine paid for Jennifer's phone plan. She had seen the line items, dozens of charges to online gambling sites.
She's drowning in debt. The ring must have seemed like the only way out.
The pieces locked together. Her daughter-in-law had stolen the ruby to feed a habit Catherine had ignored too long.
I will find that ring before it's sold. I'll start calling the pawn shops in the morning.
She went to the bookshelf and pulled down the old photograph album, cover worn from years of handling.
Mother wore this ring every day. She said it was her only real treasure.
In the black and white picture, her mother's hand rested on a lace cloth, the ruby glowing dark against pale skin.
Burmese pigeon blood, 1947. She refused to appraise it. She would never sell her mother's ring.
The ring was meant to pass from mother to daughter, a thread connecting 3 generations of women.
And Jennifer scooped it out of my jewelry box like a handful of loose change.
Her throat tightened. She closed the album flat and pressed her palm against the cover, anchoring herself.
I am going to claw it back. Not for the money, for who gave it to me.
The determination settled into her, colder than the grief she'd felt that morning.
Tomorrow, I start calling every pawn shop in a 40-mile radius. I will not stop until someone tells me they have it.
The next morning, Catherine sat at the old telephone table with a printed list of pawn shops and the ring's photograph beside her.
Good morning. I am trying to locate a stolen ring, a Burmese ruby, 1947, pigeon blood red. Did anyone pawn it there?
The young man on the line barely paused. No, ma'am, nothing like that. Catherine's jaw tightened.
Hello. I am calling about a missing ring, vintage ruby, deep red, engraved gold band.
This one hung up mid-sentence. Catherine stared at the dead line.
2 failures. She could have sold it online or driven 20 miles. This is Catherine Reeves. I am looking for a stolen ring. Burmese ruby, 1947. Never appraised. Has anyone brought it in?
The owner listened, then said no, with the finality of a door clicking shut.
3 dead ends. If the next one is empty, I am out of names.
She tapped the last number on the list, Hartley's Pawn and Loan, and lifted the receiver one more time.
Hertleys? This is Catherine Reeves. I am searching for a stolen ring, Burmese ruby, 1947, pigeon blood red, engraved gold band.
Ma'am, would you mind describing it once more? Slowly.
His voice carried weight, the kind that stops you mid-breath. Something in the way he asked made her hand tremble.
It's a deep crimson ruby, oval cut, set in yellow gold. On the inside band, there's an inscription, to E, 1947.
A long pause. Ma'am, I think you need to come down here. In person.
He knows something. This is the first one who didn't say no outright. I'll be there in an hour. Tell me the address.
She wrote the words Hartley's Pawn and Loan and an address on Duncan Street. The ink bled a little where her hand pressed too hard.
Please let it still be there. I'll repay whatever I have to.
She hung up the receiver and stared at the address, a single point on the map that might hold her mother's ring and Jennifer's secret. She slipped into the driver's seat, the address clutched in her hand, and started the engine.
If this shop has it, everything changes. If not, I don't know what I'll tell David.
The streets blurred past. Her mind was on Frank and the poker nights he used to host.
Frank would have known what to do. He could always see through people.
Through the windshield, a small storefront appeared. Hartley's Pawn and Loan, wedged between a shoe repair and a diner.
This is it. The last name on my list. Please let it be here.
She parked and sat for a moment, the engine ticking as it cooled, the silence sudden.
Be calm. You don't know anything yet. Just go in and see if it's there.
Catherine stepped out and straightened her blazer, the breeze lifting her silver hair. She stared at the brass door handle a long moment, then reached out, the weight of the moment pressing on her. She pushed the door open and stepped inside. A brass bell jangled somewhere above her. The shop was a museum of other people's trouble. Old guitars, wedding rings under glass, a clock that had stopped decades ago.
Be with you in a moment. The voice was the same slow gravel from the phone.
That voice. It's pulling at something buried.
Then the man behind the counter raised his head, and the years fell away all at once.
Catherine? Catherine Reeves? He pulled off his glasses slowly, as if clearing away a decade.
Thomas. Thomas Hartley. You carried Frank's coffin. Her voice cracked on the name.
Every Thursday for 40 years. I'd know that ring you described anywhere. Frank showed it to me once. Told me it came from your mother.
He has the ring, or he knows exactly what happened to it. Frank's best friend is the gatekeeper.
They stood frozen among the clocks and old trinkets. The silence shaped by all the years. Frank wasn't there.
The minute that young woman set your ring on my counter, I recognized it. Frank showed me the inscription. 30 years ago, at our poker game.
Jennifer walked right into his shop, bold as anything. She sold my mother's ring to Frank's best friend.
I paid her $1,800. I saw the desperation in her eyes, but I also saw the ring, and I knew what it meant. I locked it in my personal safe that day and never listed it. I've been waiting, Catherine, hoping you'd call.
He turned and lifted the ring from a black velvet pad, the ruby catching the warm shop light like a drop of old blood.
There it is. Mother's ring. It's been here the whole time.
Thomas held it out across the counter, the gold band gleaming like an answered prayer. Catherine's fingers closed around the ring, and the tears she had held back since morning finally fell.
No charge, Catherine. It belongs to you. His grip on her hand was as steady as his voice.
She stood there, the ruby burning against her palm, feeling the full weight of what Jennifer had done and what Thomas had saved. Thomas reached beneath the counter and retrieved a yellow pawn ticket, its creases sharp with age.
Her signature. She used her driver's license for ID. I made a copy. You'll want both.
Her name, her handwriting, proof that ties it all together.
He slid a photocopy of Jennifer's license across the counter, her photo staring up, young and careless.
Thomas, I can't repay what you've given me. The ring alone. How do I thank you?
You let me do what Frank would have done. That's all the thanks I need. He folded the ticket into her hand.
Catherine tucked the papers into her purse alongside the ring, the weight of them heavier than they looked.
I have everything now. Ring, receipt, signature. But what do I do with it?
She sat in the car for a long time, the engine off, the ring box and the pawn ticket on the passenger seat, like evidence in a case she never wanted to try. The ruby glinted on her hand as she finally turned the key, the afternoon sun catching its fire. She drove away from Hartley's with more than a ring. Monday morning, Catherine walked into the appraisal office, the ring box clutched in her hand. The appraiser turned the ring under the loupe, his face unreadable.
This ring was never about money, but now it has to be.
He rotated the ring slowly, catching the light, measuring each facet. Then, he set the loupe down and spoke a figure that stopped her breath. $52,000.
$52,000. Jennifer pawned it for $1,800. The desperation must have been blinding.
He slid an appraisal certificate across the counter, the dollar figure bold and unadorned.
That number makes it a felony. She didn't just betray my trust. She risked prison.
Catherine touched the ring through the plastic sleeve, the stone catching the light like a held breath.
Now I understand the true cost, and I know exactly what I'll offer my son.
She returned home and printed the itemized phone bill she paid for Jennifer's plan.
The gambling charges were worse than I remembered. $18,000 in 6 months.
She placed the pawn ticket, Jennifer's signed receipt with the ID copy, and the circled phone bill side by side on the desk.
3 pieces that tell one story. Theft, addiction, and enough evidence to change everything.
She slid the documents into a manila envelope with the care of someone sealing a letter that would break a family open.
I am giving David the chance to save his wife, but that choice comes with a clock.
Then she lifted her phone and dialed David's office, the envelope resting in front of her.
David, it's Mom. I'll be at your office at 2 o'clock. This isn't a social call.
She didn't wait for him to ask questions. She said it had to be in person and hung up before he could protest.
He has no idea what's coming, but I've carried this alone long enough.
The building was all glass and late afternoon sun. As Catherine stepped out of the car, the envelope tight under her arm, David looked up from his computer, his smile fading when he saw her face.
Mom, you sounded strange on the phone. Is everything okay? You are worrying me.
Close the door, David. Please sit down. This isn't easy.
He rose slowly and shut the door, the click echoing in the small office.
It's about Jennifer, and I need you to hear everything before you speak.
Jennifer, what's wrong? Is she sick? Did something happen to her?
Catherine placed the envelope on the desk between them, her hand resting on top like a paperweight.
She's not sick, David, but she's in trouble, and this evidence tells the story.
David stared at the envelope, the blood draining from his face before he even touched it. Catherine slid the pawn ticket out of the envelope and set it before him, the yellow paper crisp under the office lights.
That's her signature, David, on a pawn ticket for the ruby ring she took from my jewelry box.
David picked up the ticket with trembling fingers, his eyes scanning the words as if they might rearrange into something else.
He's breaking already, and I've only shown him one piece.
She laid the receipt beside the ticket, a photocopy of Jennifer's license, the photograph young and incriminating.
Where did you get this? How did you find it?
Catherine didn't answer yet. She unfolded the last page, the itemized phone bill, $18,000 in gambling charges circled in red.
She's been gambling for 2 years, David. I've known for months, but I didn't know she'd go this far.
David's face went slack. He stared at the papers without touching them, his knuckles white against the desk.
What are you going to do?
Here is the offer, David. Jennifer enters an inpatient treatment program by month's end. If she does, I won't press charges. The ring appraised at $52,000. That's a felony. But I'd rather see her get help than go to prison. The pawn shop owner is Thomas Hartley, Frank's best friend. He recognized the ring immediately. He'll testify if I ask.
Thomas? He knew it was Grandma's ring?
Catherine slid the ring box from her purse and set it on the desk, the deep crimson stone winking in the lamplight.
Take it. Give it to Jennifer. Tell her this is her one chance.
One chance. If she says no, I lose her. But maybe she's already lost.
She pressed his shoulder, her grip steady. Go home. This is your marriage now, not mine. He lifted the ring box, the weight of it heavier than it looked, and turned to the door. David left without looking back, the envelope of evidence still on the desk, the ring box in his pocket. The street lamp slid over the windshield as David drove, the ring box a dark shape on the passenger seat.
All those nights she said she was working late. The credit card bills she hid. How did I miss this?
His knuckles went white on the wheel. The memory of her nervous laugh at his questions pressed in from all sides.
I told myself it was stress. She was feeding an addiction right under our roof, and I chose not to see.
The car passed through pools of light and shadow, each one a measure of the hours he'd spent not looking.
Mom saw it in a phone bill. I saw it every day and chose to believe it was nothing.
The familiar turn onto their street came too soon. The house lights burned through the dusk, waiting. He killed the engine and sat. The ring box rested in both hands now, the ruby a cold accusation against his skin.
One chance. If she refuses, I don't know how we come back from this.
David stepped out into the cold air, the ring box tight in his fist, and walked toward the front door. Jennifer looked up from the couch, the remote slipping from her fingers. She tried a smile, but it broke. David stood in the doorway, backlit by the hall light, the ring box invisible in his hand. He crossed the room without a word. The distance between them felt measured in years. He set the ring box on the coffee table, a dark velvet square that stopped her breath.
It's the ring. He knows.
She didn't reach for it. Her hands curled into the couch cushion, knuckles white. David watched her, the silence building a wall between them. Jennifer's chest rose and fell in shallow pulls. The television's mute blare was the only sound. Their eyes held, his unreadable, hers filling with a terror that confirmed everything. Neither moved. The ring box sat between them like a third presence, demanding an answer no one was ready to give.
It's not what it looks like, David. I was just holding it for a friend.
Your signature is on the pawn ticket. I saw it. Your ID. The copy.
The lie crumbled on her face. Jennifer's chin trembled, and she slid off the couch to the floor.
I owe $30,000. The bills were piling up. I took it when she was at the graduation. I thought I could win it back. Every time I told myself one more hand and I'd stop.
David's fists clenched at his sides. His mother's voice from the office echoed. 52,000. A felony.
How did it get this far? She stole from my own mother.
I am so ashamed. I can't even look at you. I hate what I've become.
She curled into herself, sobbing, the ring box still unopened between them, a dark velvet accusation. David stood frozen, love and fury tearing him in two as her confession hung in the air. David crouched, the fury that had kept him upright, drained out of him until only the man who loved her remained.
My mother is giving you a chance. Inpatient treatment by the end of the month, or she presses charges. Thomas Hartley will testify.
Treatment. I thought you'd throw me out.
I should. But she believes you can be helped, and I am choosing to believe her.
I'll do it. Anything. I don't want to lose you.
He pulled her up, and she fell against him, her sobs muffled against his chest. Later, David stood in the quiet kitchen and called his mother.
She agreed. Friday morning, she's checking herself in.
Thank you, David. I'm sorry it had to be this way.
She replaced the receiver and sat in the lamplight, the ruby ring heavy on her finger, the house around her silent. Friday morning. The glass doors of the treatment center glinted dull in the low sun. Jennifer stepped out of David's car alone.
She's really doing it. I didn't know if she would.
Catherine sat behind the wheel, the ruby ring heavy on her hand. She watched Jennifer cross the threshold without looking back.
I wanted her punished, but this is better. Frank would agree.
She glanced at the ring, the deep crimson steady as a heartbeat.
This ring almost cost us everything, but it also brought us back.
She whispered to the empty passenger seat.
I did what I had to, Frank. She's getting help.
The ruby caught the sun, a small fire in the morning light, and Catherine let the car idle a moment longer.
Now we wait.
2 weeks later, Catherine set the dining table with the good china. The ruby glowed on her hand as she smoothed the tablecloth.
This ring used to be a memory. Now it's a reminder of what we survived.
David came through the door first. His tie loosened. Jennifer followed, thinner and quieter, her eyes on the floor.
I am glad you are here. Sit down. I made roast.
Jennifer's gaze caught on the ring for a half second, but she said nothing, sliding into her chair with a nod. Midway through the meal, Catherine lifted her wine glass, and the overhead light caught the ruby in a red flare.
I know I can't undo it, but thank you for letting me try.
You are trying. That's more than most. We go from here.
David set his fork down and looked from his wife to his mother, the muscles in his jaw working silently.
One meal at a time. The trust will take longer.
Months later, paper lanterns glowed across Catherine's patio, and a birthday banner read, David, in gold letters. The family had come full circle. Catherine laughed at something David said, her hand resting on his arm. The ruby ring caught the string lights like a tiny lamp.
Look at him, laughing again. It's been so long.
Jennifer approached carefully, holding a small wrapped box. She still moved with a quiet caution around Catherine, as if not to break the peace.
This is for you. I know it can't compare, but
Catherine opened the box. A simple silver locket, engraved with the date of that first dinner when they'd begun again.
It's perfect, Jennifer. Thank you.
She touched the locket. Then her hand drifted to the ruby ring on her other finger. Her mother's presence settled over her like a shawl.
Mother would have liked tonight.
Across the yard, David caught his mother's eye and raised his glass. A silent toast that said more than any speech. One autumn afternoon, Catherine walked into Hartley's Pawn and Loan, the bell jangling finestly, like an old welcome.
You are wearing that ring like you never took it off.
Thomas touched the ruby with a bent knuckle, the gesture gentle as a handshake.
He'd have liked to see you wear it again.
Later, she knelt at Frank's grave, the ring warm on her hand, a single white rose resting against the granite.
Frank, I kept my promise. The ring is home. The family is healing.
She let her ring hand rest on the carved letters of his name, the ruby catching the last of the afternoon light.
Thank you for sending me to Thomas, Frank. You always watched out for me.
She drove home, as the sun sank, pulling over at the rise that overlooked the valley. She lifted her hand to the sky. The ruby, a small, unfading fire. She wore it at every gathering after that, not as a lesson, but as a legacy saved, a reminder that some things, even when stolen, can find their way home.